Hey guys, it's Jackson here from Titanic Games, and today I'm going to be showing you how to set up kind of a health HUD similar to that of many first-person games, first-person shooter games, rather, that we have today, such as, Call of Duty or Battlefield, or something of the like. So, as you can see, it'll be, something kind of like this, where when you get hit, it'll cause some kind of blood effect to show up on the screen, which will get, redder and redder, if that's even a word, as you take on more damage. So that's what we'll be doing today. And now, first thing we're going to want to do is actually get a texture for it. Now, what I did is I typed, I searched blood overlay transparent to look for, kind of an image similar to those games, and I guess the only one I really found that worked well was this one right here. You can find it yourself, but I will also leave it in the description below so you don't have to go searching for it. But anyways, once you find it, download it, and then we can get started. So we'll go back into our project, and first thing we want to do is right click and import to game, and then import that image. Right? So wherever you saved it, go ahead and import it. And I'm just going to say no, because I'm not sure what's going on. Sorry. There we go. Just going to import some stuff. Just ignore that one right there. So anyways, if you open it up, you'll see that it is indeed a transparent image, which is exactly what we want. Because if it wasn't transparent, then it would block out the actual screen once we start adding the effect. So what we're going to do is now is create the HUD for it. So let's right click and go to user interface, and we want to create a widget blueprint. Now I'm going to call this blood effect HUD. Alright, and we'll open this up. Alright, so now first thing you're going to notice is there's this little panel here with this green outline, and this is called the canvas panel, and this is where any widgets that you want to add to your screen, it's where they'll go. So what we're going to use for this tutorial is an image. Alright, so we'll drag that and drop it excuse me, we'll drag it and drop it onto the canvas panel, and now we can select it, and if you go over to brush in the details, you can click the little triangle, and then we can select the image that we want to use. So we'll click this drop down, find our blood overlay texture, and then you can compile and save, and you can see here it is. Now next what we want to do is get it to fit the entire screen. So what you could do is scale it up like this, but we want to make it so that no matter what screen size you're using, it will always fit the screen. So to do that, we're going to go to anchors, and we're going to set it to full screen. So as you can see, it's now filling the whole screen, or anchored to the whole screen rather. And now just to make sure it fits really nice, we'll go over and make sure all these values are 0, and then we're good to go. Alright, so you can compile and save. And now let's visualize this. So to see what it looks like, we'll find our character, we'll go into their the blueprint, and then we're going to use an event begin play here to create our HUD whenever the game begins. So let's right click, say event begin play, we'll drag off, say create widget. Alright, and now for class we want to choose the class that we made, or the widget that we made. So we'll use this blood effect HUD. Alright, next we're going to drag off and promote this to a variable, and this is just so that we can reference it later if we want to, for like changing different values on it and whatnot. So I'm going to call this blood effect reference. Alright, and then I'm going to say add to viewport, just like that. So now if we compile and save and hit play, you'll see there it is on the screen. A nice big red effect, very very vibrant, and you can tell that you're definitely you're hurt, I guess. Alright, so next what we want to do is we want to add a way to make that effect show up more and more on the screen as you get hurt. So to do that, we need some health values. So we'll create a new variable here called current health, change this to a float, and we'll create another called max health. Alright, So compile and save. So then after compiling, we can set the default values. So I'll set it to 100 and then also 100. So compile and save again. And now next what we want to do is we need a way to communicate with our widget blueprint. Okay, so the way we're going to do that is with something called a dispatcher. So we'll go back to our third person character and we're going to add a dispatcher here called let's call it update health. Alright, so compile and save again. And now with update health selected, we want to go into the details panel and we're going to add a new input and we're going to call this health. Alright, and then change that to a float, and now we're ready to do some more stuff. So next what we're going to do is just add a way to add or subtract health, just so we can visualize the actual effect showing up on the screen. So to do that, I'm just going to right click, say F, or no, I'll just use I'm going to right click and hit 1. So I'll use the 1 key for subtracting health. So to do that, let's drag off and say set current health. Alright, and we will get our current health and simply subtract float by float, and we'll subtract 5, how about, every time. And then for adding health, I'm going to choose the 2 key. I'm going to drag off, say set current health again. It's very similar, except now we're going to add instead of subtract. So Control C, Control V to paste. You can hit plus, float, and we'll add 5 this time. Alright, so now we can compile and save, and the last thing we need to do is actually call this event dispatcher. So it'll send a message out to anyone listening for this, this call. So we'll drag it out and we will say call. So call update health. Plug this in just like that, and then Control W to duplicate. Plug it in again. Alright, there we go. So now we've got the event dispatcher in place. We can go back to our blood effect HUD and actually set some values now. So I'm going to delete this event tick, and we're going to use this event construct. It's very similar to event begin play in that it gets called whenever the widget is constructed. So we'll drag off, we'll say cast to third person character, and for object we want to get player character. Alright, and now as our third person character, we want to assign an event to happen whenever that call update health dispatcher gets called. Okay, so to do that, we'll drag off and we're going to type assign update health. Right, and if we add that, you'll see it creates first a binding to that event dispatcher, and then it creates a custom event to be fired whenever that event dispatcher gets fired. So we'll call this update blood effect, just like that. Alright, hook this up. I'm going to create a little space now. Alright, so now next what we need to do is let's go back to our image. Alright, and we need to change its opacity, right, so it doesn't show up right away. So to do that, we're going to set this color and opacity alpha value to 0, right, so it doesn't show up at all. So now with that in mind, we're going to need to set this value to get closer to 1 as we get hurt. So we'll go to the graph and we're going to get our image, so drag it in and say get, and we're going to drag off and say set color and opacity. Right, so I'm going to create a bunch of space here, and then from the in color we want to drag out and say make linear color. Right, and so this will give us all the values that comprise a color. Now for the RGB values, we're just going to hard code them to 1, but for the alpha value, we're going to use this health to kind of set it. So next what we want to do is drag off of as third person character and say get max health. Now the reason for this is we need to take this health value and convert it to a 0 to 1 scale, because that's what opacity uses, right? When opacity is, or when alpha rather is 0, then it's completely transparent, but when it's 1, then it's completely opaque. So we'll take our health and do float divided by float, hook these up, and now we could just plug it in, but we wouldn't get the effect we're going for, because as I just mentioned, a value of 1 is completely opaque, but if you're full health, this division's going to yield a value of 1. So we just need to simply do a minus float, hold control to move this, and we just need to do 1 minus this value, and that will give us the correct scale. So plug that into the alpha. We can move that over. Now if we compile and save and hit play, you see there's no effect showing up yet, but as soon as I hit the 1 key to add some damage, see, it's going to start to show up. So if I hit 1 some more, it'll show up more and more and more until it's full and vibrant. So now if I hit 2, it'll start to go away. Alright, and so that's kind of really the basics of setting up a kind of blood overlay effect similar to first-person shooter games. I guess one last thing we could do to kind of make that effect a little more red maybe is, let's go to the designer and go to the tint, right, from the brush, and we'll change this, we'll change all this to just red. So do 0 and 0, and that'll make it red. Now if we press play again and I add the damage, you'll see the screen gets a little redder. So yeah, anyways, that is everything. If you liked the video, like or subscribe, and thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.